I'm going to go deep if that's
I'm
okay.
here for that.
I
Yeah.
wanted to be peppy, but I'm going to tell you the real.
You've
So,
established that your natural orientation is chippy, and so we can go
yeah.
anywhere.
Okay, great. So, when I was a kid, I think I realized very early on that something was off. You know how kids are just they pick up on what's going on, even though they don't have the vocabulary to articulate
Yeah,
that they understand.
that's right.
And so I have my brother who's older than me is 2 years older than me. Sorry, my brother who's next to me is 2 years older than me, and he and I were at the same school at the same time, the same primary school, which was like a 5 minute walk, literally on the next block. We didn't have to cross any busy street, and so me and him used to walk to school together. And we start school earlier in the UK. We start kindergarten at like 3 or 4, and then we start
Oh, wow.
first grade by before 5. And so my brother was sick, just for like the flu, and he couldn't go to school. But my mom was an immigrant, which meant she had multiple jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and so she couldn't take us to school. So the elder kids are
Mm-hmm.
responsible for the younger children.
Mm-hmm.
And quite honestly, we were poor. We couldn't afford a nanny or a
Yeah.
babysitter or anything like that. And so, so my brother was meant to take me to school. He was sick, so he was staying home, and I knew I had to go to school on my own. My mom had warned me, all of us, before then, saying if you ever are in trouble outside the home, try and walk next to a white lady with her children. We only had white people in our community and then us few brown people. And so she said, find a white lady who's got kids and kind of walk next to her. And if anything happens, hopefully she'll protect you, or you can kind of pretend that you're with them. And so that was a weird thing to explain to very young children, but she didn't really explain why. And she probably didn't understand at that point why you shouldn't say that to a child because that's going to worry them. But she
Yeah.
was right to
Yeah.
be worried. And so
Mm.
I went to school. I tried really hard to find a white lady to walk next to, and I couldn't find one. Uh, I, I I remember walking to school the 5 minutes, but before I got to school, I hit the ground and I didn't understand what had happened. And then as I started to wake up from whatever was happening, it was men who were beating me,
Mm.
and saying this disgusting word in England, which is for my people, which is it starts with a P word, and and they did what they needed to do until I couldn't move, and then
How
they
old were
laughed
you?
and walked off. I was 5, and these men were between 19 to 25. There were multiple. And what we realized had happened was that they'd kicked me from behind. So I
Mm.
hit the ground and I'd hit my head. So I'd passed out. But then as I had come to, they were still kicking and I realized what was happening. And so I gathered myself up and went home. And that was the day that I realized, oh, mom doesn't need to say anything more. I understand now why I'm not meant to be out alone, and why I'm meant to find people to stand next to. And then that continued for another 12 years until I decided to leave my hometown.
Mm.
We would run to school, we'd run back home from school. And that was the reason why we weren't allowed to hang out outside of school. If we
Mm.
were on our bikes, my family trusted that we would be able to go fast enough to get away from the people who might want to hurt us.
Mm.
But if we weren't allowed to walk or just play outside, it must be on a bike.